And we are back here at Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with the Honorable Joe Oliver, Honorable Gary Marr, and Sandra Pupatello. Joe Oliver, we were talking about fiscal versus monetary policy. Maybe bring it home for some of our viewers in terms of what that means in their lives.
Sure. Well, what you've had for some period of time is a central bank that's trying to wrestle inflation to the ground, and a government which has responsibility for fiscal policy um, being pretty profligate, and so that is added to inflation and made the job of the central bank more difficult. And it's not only in this country, but it's in the United States as well, and frankly in a lot of European countries also. I mean, the other point I wanted to make in terms of trying to deal with some of the questions that Sandra and Gary raised is that I think there is a bit of a catch up because the government's various programs put a lot of money in people's pockets to the point where income actually went up when they weren't working, but they couldn't spend because of social distancing and then because of supply chain issues, and so there's a catch up. I don't know if it's still if that is enduring, but I think it was a big factor. And what you've got here is, of course, spending that isn't really improving productivity. In other words, the money, if it's going into consumption, is not going into savings and therefore investment, which improves productivity, and that's a huge issue for this country, and the manifestation of it is lower growth, and particularly low growth per capita.
Sure.
So while the growth per capita continues, it's very, very modest, and of course it's very uneven. And I think the concern is that there's sectors, as Sandra pointed out, that are not doing nearly as well and haven't been, frankly, for a very long time.
Sandra, I want to turn to you on a different topic, trading in on your experience as a trade minister and economic development minister. This war for talent. There was a big announcement at that very large tech startup conference in Toronto called Collision, where the federal government basically said that they're going to issue new work H-1B visa permits for tech workers from the U.S. Basically, we're going to be poaching American tech workers and inviting them to Canada on an accelerated platform. Very, very interesting and aggressive policy by the federal government, but it really underscores the hunt for talent that Canada faces right now. Your comments on that?
Well, in particular for that sector, that's a very high-paying sector. So those are the kinds of jobs that we want. We want the economy to keep developing those types of jobs, so we need them filled. The beauty of that announcement was that let's let another country go through the hassle of actually seeing that people are deemed fit to get that level in the U.S., and then we just take them over here. So it actually lets them get through a system of vetting that is done by another country that frankly is quite strict. I don't think anyone's going to complain much because in the scope of the size of the American economy and the numbers of people that they bring in, and let's face it, most people want to go to the U.S., we get the ones that can't get into the U.S. But for us, we'll benefit. 10,000, I think the announcement was 10,000 of these applicants would be allowed in. And it's a very quick way to get a bunch of people to come in. And if you look at the scope of why people would even consider moving to Canada, some of the political unrest in the U.S., for example, for some of these individuals who have come from other countries, they could find Canada a very appealing place. So I thought it was a clever announcement. It doesn't really impact on the U.S., our friends, after all. And for us, it's a quick way to give something very tangible to our companies. And we want those companies to continue to generate revenue and generate business.
By the way,
I think it's notable on this point that H-1B holders are not American citizens.
Right.
They are sponsored by their companies. And those companies, these tech companies, have little incentive to put them on a pathway towards a green card, because as soon as they get a green card, those individuals can go work for anybody.
Right.
So the result is that by providing an ability of H-1B holders to come to Canada and provide a pathway to citizenship, I think is a powerful incentive. And I think this is a great program.
Okay, we're going to take another break. We'll be back after that. Please stay with us. We've got one more segment to go.